Hello everyone.
Hello!
Okay, let's get started. My name's Dimitris, otherwise known as Modern Vintage Gamer on YouTube. A lot of people have come up and said, love your channel, and I know who you are, I recognise you, so that's cool. I think I came last year and everyone's like, who's this guy? You know, no one knows who I was. But I want to thank Jim for asking me to come back this year, and I jumped at the opportunity to be back. I really had a lot of fun last year. It was an awesome show, and I've seen it grow immensely this year, and I think it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger, so thank you for putting it together. I'm going to talk a little bit about where I was last year and where I am this year, and how I grew my influence and my channel, and some of the things that are pertinent to the Commodore community as far as some of the reviews that I've done that have really been successful with my channel. So let's go ahead and get started. So who am I? My name's Dimitris, as mentioned. I'm a C++ programmer by trade, I guess. I went to college and learned to be a computer programmer. I'm a YouTuber, 8 and 16-bit Commodore fan, of course. And that's my Twitter handle if you're interested in following me. That's my YouTube if you want to subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And there's the obligatory juggler. So since last year, when I got up on this stage, I was at 6,500 YouTube subscribers, which I thought was really good, and it is good. But as of 5 minutes ago, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm almost at 80,000 subscribers. So I've had a lot of, thank you. So I've had a lot of growth over the last, just over 12 months, I would say. And I'm going to talk about what I've done to make that happen. So some of the things that I really tried to think about when releasing videos this year was I wanted to get on a release schedule. And last year when I was doing this, I was just releasing videos every so often, maybe once every 2 months or so. But I really decided that I'm going to get on a schedule, because that's one of the most important things that you can do as a content creator, is if your followers and subscribers know when you're releasing videos, they're not always waiting for something that doesn't come. So I made a point of weekly videos every Monday morning. And the reason why I picked Monday morning is because when I go to work on Monday morning, I do as little work as possible until, you know, the first meeting of the day, right? So I'm always looking at email or looking at social media. So I figured that people are going to get into work on Monday and just, you know, watch videos and stuff. So it seems to work for me. There's no real method to the madness there, but that's what I do, and it seems to definitely seems to work for me. Now last year I said I was a one-man job, and that hasn't changed. I still am a one-man job, so I've done nothing different this year than I did last year. So I don't have anyone else that works with me on my videos. And I average about 50,000 views a video now, and last year I was probably at about 1,000 views a video. So some videos do better than others, some videos don't do as good, but for me, it all kind of averages out about 50K. My highest video so far has been 1.3 million views, which was absolutely crazy. I actually got a little bit of money from that one, which was nice. And the main target audience is the retro community, and that includes you guys, that includes the Commodore community. And that's what I've just decided to stick to. There was a period of time last year where I wanted to maybe dabble into the PC market, but there's so many PC tech channels out there, Linus Tech Tips and all those guys, that it's very cutthroat, and I just decided I'm going to stick with what I love and what I grew up with. Question?
1.3 million views on the video.
It was the Xbox 360 video that I released, which was called, I don't remember the name of it, but I think it was the Xbox 360 is still awesome in 2018 or something like that. Yeah, it just blew up. And I actually looked at my analytics to determine what happened there, because the first time it happens, you're like, where's this coming from? And you don't really know, but My video hit the trending page briefly, so when you get on trending, that really gives you a big boost. But it also ended up on the end of a Linus Tech Tips video, which again, Linus has a very large, I think he's playing it right now actually. So on the end of a Linus Tech Tips video, really got me a lot of followers and a lot of people watching me. So.
I have a title.
So,
it's called Why You Need a Modded Xbox 360.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this year I really made a good, strong effort to find my brand. Last year I was just kind of a guy, and I mean I'm still the same person this year obviously, but I really made a conscious decision to get a brand rather than just a name. And some of the things that I've done is finding my audience. That sounds a little, smoke and mirrors or chicken and egg, but finding your audience is probably the most important thing you can do. If you want to start a YouTube channel and you want to make videos, you have to find out who your target audience is. And it takes a long, long time to figure out who they are. And some people never figure out who they are and they just stop doing it because they get frustrated with content creation. Because everyone thinks that you start making videos and you want to get, you want to start making money quickly. But that doesn't happen. The reality of the situation is you hardly make anything on the platform. But eventually, if you stick to it long enough, you'll find out who your audience is. And one of the other things I've done is, I've been very quick to change and pivot to new developments that are going on. And I think having a channel like mine, it's important to have different streams of content that you release. If you just stick to the one thing, it gets a little dull and boring. I mean, you're definitely catering to, a particular audience that you have, but it's very important to have a bigger, wider audience of different people that like the different aspects of your channel. And then what you end up finding out is you get comments from people that say things like, I'm not really a Commodore guy, but I really like that video you put together. That was awesome, but I don't know anything about Commodore. And that's the type of people that once those people have subscribed to you and watch you, then the content kind of doesn't really matter. They're there for you, they're not really there for the content. And once you connect with your audience at that level, that's when you get more and more people coming to watch you. The other thing I did was stick to a schedule. I mentioned the Monday morning thing. That's very, very important. If you're going to do this, make sure you have a schedule that works for you. Now, when I sat down at the end of last year and said, right, I'm going to really push this hard and see what I can do. Now, I have a day job, so this is not a full-time career for me. So I sat down and thought about what is feasible from a release perspective. Some people release videos a few times a week, every day. For me, it was weekly. Weekly is probably as good as I can get, given my work and family and everything else. And even weekly for me can be a struggle sometimes. I'm really scrambling at the end to get something out. And some people, will say to me, well, why don't you just queue up, 4 videos, on those weeks where you can't release something. And my answer to that is, well, I don't have the time to queue up 4 videos. I mean, I'm trying to get this done as quickly as I can, so. Social media push. Now, that's one thing that I really have been focusing on this year. I've never been a big Facebook guy, a big Twitter guy, but I've really set both of those up, and I use social media a lot more than I have this year. And the other thing is, you need to spend some money as well. So I've got some T-shirts over there in my table there that I'm giving. I'm selling for $10 at the show. So if anyone wants to pick one up, come and see me after this. I do giveaways as well, so I've given away some stuff on my channel. So really just engaging with your audience, giving them something back as well, which is very important. And collaboration is a big thing. When you start out on YouTube, collaborating with other YouTubers is one of the best ways that you can build an audience. And so I've done things like podcast, The Retro Hour, Dan and Ravi from the UK, I've been on their show before. I've collaborated with the 8-bit guy, Dave Murray. Some of you guys know who that is as well. So I've done collaborations, and I'm continuing to do those, and there's more of those coming up in the future. And be different, you know. If you're just going to do gameplay videos like everyone else, then it's going to be tough for you to succeed. But if you do gameplay videos, but you have a different spin on the gameplay, or you have something that you can offer that the other people can't, then that may be something that is interesting to people that may watch your channel. So these are my 5-year goals, and you know, 5 years from now we'll sit down and revisit these and see if any of these have actually come true or not. So, and these are pretty aggressive, you know. I like to set myself pretty high goals, especially considering the amount of growth I've had in the last 12 months. None of these are out of the realm of achievability. So the first one is 1 million subscribers. Now that sounds like a lot, and it is. Considering I'm only at 80,000 right now, that sounds like there's no way you're going to make it. And maybe I won't, but I'm really going to push pretty hard to see where it goes in the next 5 years. I want to average about 200,000 views per video. And again, I have videos out that have a lot more views, but I have a lot of videos that have nowhere near that many. So that would definitely be something that is achievable, but requires a lot of hard work as well. Right now, I work at home in my office, which is good, but because you work at home, you know, there's family and there's always a mess at the house. So what I would rather do is have a dedicated studio space with all my gear all set up, so I can just go there and film and do all that stuff. And this one's important, you know, don't burn out. You know, I definitely do not want to burn out on what I do. And there's been some times this year, you know, releasing weekly, that there's been some weeks where I'm like, wow, this is really, you know, I can feel this a little bit. And, you know, a lot of people don't last more than a few years. Some people really blow up and they'll have a good year, but then they kind of just fall off and don't release as much for different reasons. And just kind of more of the same, you know, more talks, more collaborations, just more of the same stuff that I've been doing, and, you know, obviously not lose sight of my audience as well. So one of the big reasons why I've had success this year is retro reviews. And one thing that has been very apparent to me is that there is a huge demand right now for modern Amiga and C64 hardware. Absolutely huge. I mean, you get on the Facebook groups, you get on the forums, people talk about, you know, modern accelerator, FPGA-based accelerators, and some of the C64 stuff. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've reviewed that have been very successful as far as the videos that I've put out and the popularity of those things. The other thing I'll say is, you know, prices continue to increase. Even though we have this 25, 30-year-old hardware, I don't see them going down at all. I mean, the prices continue to increase. Everyone's saying this is a bubble and it's going to burst, but I can't see it, honestly. Modern FPGA hardware is a good thing, and I agree. I mean, there's a lot of accelerators and things that I'll talk about here shortly that are all FPGA-based that work very, very well. Accelerator cards, floppy drive emulators, scan doublers, and games. I mean, games is really big. I've seen a lot of games coming out for the C64, like Valencia, Sam's Journey, Planet X2. There's a lot of Amiga stuff coming out. So people are continuing to develop for these systems that really have no business having anything new released for them as far as games go, which is awesome to see. So yeah, the takeaway here is retro is more popular than ever. So this particular card, the Witcher 500i, is an FPGA accelerator card that runs a 68,000 at 50 megahertz, and it runs the, I don't remember the name, the HC model, the square one, that really can be overclocked a lot. This particular video had about 150,000 views on it, and even I was surprised that it got so much traction, because it's just an accelerator card. And when I released this video, I went back to look at it, and I couldn't believe the amount of interest that this card has. And I sat down and I talked to the author of it. His name's Arto, he's from Poland. And he said that the reason for that is because a lot of people aren't interested in like the vampire cards because they're a little pricier, and there's a waiting list that you need to get on, and you may have to wait up to 12 months to get one. A lot of people don't want the individual computers, ones that attaches on the side, because they don't want something that attaches on the sidecar. They just want an internal Amiga accelerator that just clips on top of the 68,000 port. And he said he did a lot of research before he released his card, and he felt like most of Poland that have Amigas would buy this card. And I mean, he's probably right, because I mean, this video did a lot of good in the community. A lot of people bought this card. A lot of people say to me, this is a great video that you put together. I didn't know anything about this card, but I'm so glad that Amiga accelerators for the A500 are still being made. This particular card has a SIM slot as well, which makes it really easy just to buy a cheap 72-pin SIM off eBay, and then have up to, I believe it's 64 megabytes of memory as well, and it has the battery for the onboard real-time clock as well. So this is a really cool card. Actually, this is what I actually have at home, incidentally. A lot of people ask me, what do you have in your Amiga? Because we've seen you review different things. But I have this card in my Amiga 500 right now. It's a really, really good card. The other thing that I reviewed is the Terrible Fire TF530. This is a 68030 accelerator, Amiga 500, for the Amiga 500. And this is FPGA, but it runs an 030. And this is an awesome card by Stephen Leary that's open source. So you can actually go onto GitHub and download the PCB diagram, and excuse me because I don't know anything about PCB design, if that's not the right way to say it, but you can download the PCB schematics, print it out onto a PCB, buy the parts and build it yourself. And this is a very, very popular card as well. There's people on the EAB forums that will build these for you and sell them to you, which is what I ended up doing. I didn't end up actually buying and building my own, I just bought one that was pre-made. This is a really good card that runs an 030 in an Amiga 500, which back in the day would have cost you at least $700 to $800. And this particular card costs $140. Well, it cost me $140 shipped to my house from the UK. So you can see there's really a market here for fast accelerators all of a sudden. And this one has an IDE header as well, so you can plug in a compact flash card. And it has, I believe it's 2 megabytes of static RAM. And that's probably the only thing that that is a bit of a downer for this particular card. I wanted at least 4 or 8 megabytes on board, but I get the reason why he used SRAM, just to keep the cost down and all that. But I do know he's coming out with updated revisions of this particular card. But the fact that we have an open source Amiga accelerator card in 2018 is just amazing, it's unheard of. So very, very pleased with that one. And of course we have the Vampire card. A lot of people know what that is. That's the fastest accelerator that you can get right now. This is fully FPGA that runs the Altera chip, and there's the V2, which is the one that's on the photo there. That's the one that I have. There's the V3, which I believe there's one at the back here somewhere, and the V4 that's currently in development right now, which is not even an Amiga, it's just a standalone board that runs obviously Amiga-based kernel and software and everything. Very, very popular and continues to be to this day. There's so many of these things that are being sold. I like the Vampire card. Stability-wise, it's probably not the most stable, but there's definitely a market for that particular accelerator. So as you can see, I mean, there's a lot of interest in the Amiga and modern accelerators. But it's not only just accelerator cards. There's also things like scan doublers. And one of the reviews that I did recently was on the open source scan converter, or the OSSC. And this particular device is awesome. It takes a SCART or an RGB input, or a component input, and outputs it into HDMI. And this particular card doesn't actually scan double. It's a little bit of a misnomer there. It's actually a line doubler, so it actually doubles each line by line. So there's actually no frame buffer, which means there's no input lag. Exactly, there's no input lag at all. So it's an awesome, it's an awesome piece of hardware for for retro gaming, especially if you're if you want to make sure that there's no frames of input lag. This particular thing I reviewed on my channel and it was very successful again. I got a lot of retention, a lot of views, really like it, and I use one at home, so I'm a big fan of the OSSC. It costs about $150, I believe, US, and if you are interested in trying to get a modern or a retro computer displayed onto a modern display, then this is one thing that you may want to consider. I know all about it, I know you have one as well, so if you have any questions about it after this or even at QA time, just let me know. And of course there's games. I talked about games at the start, but there's a lot of interest in new C64 games right now, and it's so awesome to see. As a guy that grew up with the C64, I love seeing new games come out for it, and the biggest one that, at least that I've been involved with, is Planet X2, which came out late last year by the 8-bit guy, Dave Murray. He sent me a review copy and said, I really like your channel, would you be interested in doing a review? And I said, I would love to. That he actually reached out to me personally and asked me if I would do it. So he sent me a preview copy of the game, and I spent a week playing it. I wanted to make sure that I didn't just rush through it and miss something. I made sure that the review that I was going to do was going to do it some justice, and people really liked the review, got 100,000 views, and he sold out. I'm not saying my video is responsible for that, but he sold all his copies and the game was very successful. He's now kickstarted Planet X3, which is the follow-up to Planet X2 on the PC. On early PCs, on XT-based PCs. I think the Kickstarter was, he wanted to raise $30,000, and the reason for the Kickstarter was he wanted to hire some sprite artists, some musicians, and some other people to help him develop the game. He ended up raising $200,000, and obviously it was funded pretty quickly. So he's been very successful with these games. So hopefully, he's told me that I will be reviewing the next game as well, but I'll have to get some old PC hardware, so I don't know where I'm going to acquire that from. But if anyone has any, so let me know. So. And just to kind of wrap up here, the last couple of games, Galencia. I'm not sure if everyone knows what Galencia is, but it's a modern remake of Galaga, and it's a fantastic game. When I got this game from Jay Aldrin, I actually bought a copy of the game, but I'd been following his progress on the game, and when the game came in, I started playing it. I was like, this game is brilliant. So this is a modern arcade shooter on the C64 that runs extremely well. It's got great graphics and sound, and he is working on developing a follow-up to this game as well, which I believe he's kickstarting or he's just about to. So if you haven't heard of this one, Galencia, check it out. I think you can download a free image of it and play with it, but I bought the cartridge version because I don't want any loading times, of course. So. And the last one is Sam's Journey, which is a very excellent technical, or technically developed platform game for the C64 that, I mean, if you look at this game, it looks like Super Mario Brothers. It's just a brilliant looking game, very, very colourful, great music, great graphics, a lot of gameplay, and just a brilliant game. And it's really good to see that we are still seeing development being done, games being developed for the old systems. And I think that, games are going to continue to be developed. And it just seems like there's more and more interest in this stuff. And a lot of people are buying these things as well. It's not just the little niche in the corner that's buying it. We're not talking about 100 copies being sold. We're starting to talk about thousands of copies being sold, which is amazing, especially in this day and age. So that's really all I had for this presentation, guys. One thing I do want to say is thank you again, for everyone for coming out and listening to me talk. Hopefully I'll be back next year and maybe we'll do a revisit on, you know, where things were this year, and hopefully I've grown my channel since then. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, I'll be a new subscriber, but I haven't seen your channel before. What's the average length of your videos?
That's a really good question. So, when I first started out, so the question was, what's the average length of my videos? I started out at probably about 5 minutes, but YouTube, the algorithm really favors videos that are 10 minutes or longer. And there's different reasons for doing that, but this year I've released, every video that I've done is probably between 10 and 15 minutes long. Some of them have gone about 20 minutes, but I tend to not run a 20-minute video because it gets a little waffly, it gets a little boring, you know, it's easy for someone to click off and look at something else. I try to keep it between 10 and 15 minutes for the most part.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Hey, some follow-up on that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions. First of all, that chair, is that really comfortable? It never looks very comfortable.
So he's talking about the DX Racer gaming chair that I have. It's really comfortable. It's super comfortable. I would say try, just sit in a gaming chair one time and see how you feel. So I've always had back problems, and I've always had just an office works chair, you know, just a crappy $50 chair. But someone told me to try out the racing chair because it really just kind of, you know, it's very, very upright, and the lumbar support that it has is good, so I like it. Yeah, I've had it for like 2 years now. So.
Hey, and then a little bit of a follow-on question to what that gentleman just asked. It seems that you have a partial script in your videos, and then you run out of script. And then is that something that you're contemplating for getting stricter on, if you wish?
So the question is, it seems like I have a partial script that I put together and then I kind of ad-lib some of it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So when I work on a video, there's usually 2 pieces to it. And that is the scripting piece, which is what I research and write a script for. But a lot of it is, I just ad-lib it as well. I think it's important to have both because sometimes if you just read from a script for a whole video, it really just kind of gives the, you know, the impression that it's just you're reading off something that you're reading, you know, like Wikipedia or something. Even though I don't do that, I actually write my own scripts. So I want to have both of those things. I think it's important to break up the video itself into 2 different parts. Any other questions?
I have a comment for you.
Go ahead.
Well, while you were doing this presentation, you picked up almost 100 subscribers. And you just broke 1.4 million with your modded Xbox video.
Good question.
So from the perspective of a collaboration, is that happening organically, or are these like people in your community, like the Retro 64 community, who are watching the videos and then reaching out to you and go, hey, I saw this video, I'd like you to kind of have a collaboration video with
Yep.
this do like that. How's that happening? How is that?
Right, so the question was about collaboration and how I go about collaborating. Did it come organically, or was it me seeking people out, or did people seek me out? The answer is a little bit of both. There's been opportunities where some bigger YouTubers have approached me and said, I really like your stuff, do you want to film a little piece of my video? And typically I will jump at that chance because I'm the smaller guy, so it's only going to benefit me from a influence base and subscriber base. But there are other times where smaller YouTubers will approach me and ask, and I like to help the small guy out too, because I mean a year ago I was sitting here at 6.5, so I want to help people grow as well. So it's a little bit of both. I mean, the community it's a very interesting community. What you find is people that are about the same level as you as far as how long they've been doing this for, you kind of tend to grow with them, you know. So the people that were at 6.5 last year, they're probably close to 80,000 this year as well. So everyone kind of grows with each other. But at the end of the day, I kind of do both. I mean, if there's a collaboration that I want to do with someone, I will seek out that person and see if they have availability to do it. Or if not, I may ask them, can you record a 10 or a 5-minute clip that I can incorporate in my video. So either way, I mean, I think really it's just a matter of you know, getting that person on board with what I'm trying to do. So.
Yeah, along those same lines, are you advertising on your channel, or if so, do you have a budget that you'd like to share?
The question was, do I advertise on my channel? Do I have a budget? Not really. I mean, I make T-shirts, and I have paid some people to help with some of the things that I do. But generally speaking, you know, whatever I make on YouTube, I kind of put it back into the channel. So, like I spent some money on T-shirts, and that was from some of the money that I have received from my videos. But typically, not really. I mean, it's pretty, you know, bare bones, I guess. So, but that may be something that I do look to improve next year. You know, I have sort of thought about some of those things and getting my name out there a little more. But right now, you know, one of my kind of initial goals is to get 100,000 subscribers. Because I do get a lot of sponsorship offers as well. It's nothing, you know, very, very big as far as dollars go. But I've turned all of them away because I really want to get, you know, I have some goals that I want to accomplish first before I start bringing more people in. Because I think once you start bringing people in, then things kind of change. It may not necessarily be a side hobby anymore or fun. It may start feeling more like work. And I don't necessarily want to feel like it's work, you know what I mean? Even though sometimes it does feel like work today, you know. But I really want to keep it as lean as possible, and you know, hopefully it can continue to grow with that model. So. Question?
Can you discuss the influence you have on prices of certain items?
It's a good question. So the question was, discuss the price that I have on eBay when I review something. A lot of YouTubers get asked this question, so I'm definitely not the exception. But look, as an influencer, when you do review something retro, something that's old, that you may stumble across, that's a cheap price, there is always the possibility that you are going to influence the increase of that price. And it's happened before, and it will continue to happen. One thing that I do like to do is I will look at eBay prices before I release something, and just kind of make a mental note of where things were. But there are other times where I've actually not released a video because I've been worried about the price increase that it may actually cause. So it's a good question. I mean, it really comes down to what you think your influence will be. With that particular video, so Jim was talking about a dual Xenon video that I brought out many, many years ago actually, when I was like 1,000 subscribers. And this video did really well. It got over 150,000 views. It was probably my first video that got a lot more views than it should have. And I ended up inadvertently increasing the price of those processors based on my video. So, you know, I do like to be careful of those things, and I will continue to make sure that I'm not influencing things. But at the end of the day, you know, if I review something and there's a demand for it, it's hard to really control that. So it's a good question, and I think every YouTuber that gets on stage and has to field those types of questions, and I don't think anyone really has a good answer for it, because you know, it's the market at the end of the day. Because if they review something that no one's really thought about for such a long time, all of a sudden there may be some demand for that product again, and people want to start buying it again. But for me, you know, I've never released anything because I felt like, you know, it's going to jack up the price of something. It's always been because it's something that I've been interested in or passionate about. So.
But it really shows the credibility that you have.
Yep.
To, you know, basically with this Xenon motherboard thing, I watched this video, I was like, well, that's a great idea. I go to eBay, his $50 price is now $200. And I'm like, okay, well.
Well, come and talk to me before you... I'll tell you what videos I'm releasing before.
Right.
Any more questions?
Hey, so you spoke a little bit to the niche that you need to find. Now, for some people, they may not know what the niche is. You're excellent coder. You've done some pretty incredible things that people had never known about until you started releasing it.
Yeah.
Kind of saying, hey, that was actually me. Do you think that you can continue to combine those two worlds? Because you know more of the workings of some of the stuff that you talk about than any of your competition, if you wish.
So the question is, with my software development background and the things I've done in the past and the YouTube channel that I have, can I continue to combine those things or do both of those things? I think the answer is yes. I mean, I like writing code, and I've kind of found a way to bring that into my channel. And that was probably one of the reasons why I first started doing YouTube, was because when I first started porting code to the Amiga, no one knew who I was, so I would just make a little video of it without, just on an iPhone. There's no narration, no scripting, no anything, and just talk about, hey, I'm working on Rise of the Triad for the Amiga, and I'd post it on the EAB forums, so people could get, interested in it, and a bit of self-promotion. It was never really for, growing my subscriber base. It's like, this is what I'm working on, and here's a real here's a real demo of it running in real time. It's not smoke and mirrors. I'm going to release it on AmiNet, next few days. So, I mean, I think those types of things that I do are going to continue. I will say that I do go from one end to another sometimes. I get more into the development side, and then I kind of get bored of that and then move back into the content creation side. But it is good that I have both of those aspects to my, my skill set. One of the things that I get told a lot is, you have a really unique and interesting channel because you're not just another guy that's doing gameplay videos or reviewing something. You bring a different dimension to the table. So, I want to continue doing that. I think it's important. So it doesn't necessarily mean, or doesn't really matter what hardware I'm coding on. It's really just bringing that to the table. I think it's important. So, go ahead.
How many hours do you work on the channel?
It's a good question. So the question was, how much time do I spend working on my channel? Well, the way I'll give you kind of a rundown of Monday to Friday for me. So, and this week's a write-off because I'm in Vegas, so things completely have gone out the window. But Monday, so I release a video Monday morning, and then I'll take Monday off, and then Tuesday I'm kind of working on a script for the next video, which is next Monday's video. So I'm typically just writing a script for it. I'm not doing anything else. And then on Wednesday, I start shooting some B-roll for the video. And then Thursday and Friday, and this is all after work, so this isn't full-time. This is, I get home from work, I'll have dinner, spend a couple of hours with the wife and kids, and then, go upstairs and start working. So it's usually about a 3 to 4 hour a night kind of process. So Thursday and Friday, I'm really into videoing mode. Typically by Friday and Saturday, I'm doing voiceovers for the video, and Sunday, it's kind of ready to go. I'll upload it to YouTube, and for those people that know about YouTube, if you get the yellow dollar sign, that means you've been demonetized. So sometimes the best way to deal with that is to upload it. You're going to get demonetized because the machine learning algorithm is terrible, but you just manually request a review and they'll turn it green. And I'll watch it a few times and make sure that I haven't made any glaring errors or omissions in the video, or something didn't work or something. And if it looks good, then I'll keep it there. Then I'll do all the thumbnail, the tags, the SEO, which in of itself is very time consuming. A lot of people that make videos kind of ignore those things, the tags and the keywords and the SEO. But let me tell you, getting on top of a search rank is one of the most important things you can do. And it's probably another topic that I can talk about for another hour, but I'm not going to do it today. But there's so much that you need to learn about SEO and making sure that you rank higher than your competition. That's one of the reasons why my videos have done better than others. Other reviewers, a lot bigger reviewers than me, is because I've been a lot smarter with the tags that I use. But in any case, to answer your question, I think in total, it's a 12, 16 to 20 hour process for one video. There's a lot of time that takes editing a video. Typically I'll say 1 hour per 1 minute, so if it's a 10-minute video, it's going to take about 10 hours to edit that video. I'm a lot better these days than I was. I've got a lot of shortcuts and templates and things that I can do, but it takes a while. I mean, it definitely takes a huge chunk of your spare time. So I have a lot of respect for people that do this full time, you know, that release videos, you know, 3 videos a week, because I know how much time they've spent, you know, making those videos. So. Any other questions?
What to research do before reviewing a product or a game or what kind of stuff do you?
Yep, so the question was how much, or what kind of research do I do? A lot of it is things that I remember from the past, which is not always the true story, but a little bit of everything. You know, I'm not afraid to look at other people's videos sometimes and, you know, take some inspiration from what they've done. Magazines, you know, web archive is great. You know, again, you know, going back to what you were talking about, I like to bring something different to the table. So one of the videos I released recently was the history of Kodi, which is, you know, the media player that works on a Raspberry Pi and a computer and everything. And a lot of people didn't know that came from the original Xbox. Xbox Media Player was the original kind of iteration of that. So I was actually, I knew the developers that built the original Xbox Media Player. So rather than me just kind of looking at Wikipedia and, you know, copying and pasting a whole bunch of stuff, I talked to a lot of those guys, and I looked at some of my old IRC logs that we had together and stuff like that. So really a bit of everything. You know, it's not one thing that I look to you know, put a script together or get information on stuff. But in some cases, you know, I will look at other people's videos, look at other websites and read articles, but I always, you know, like to be a little different with the information that I present. And sometimes I don't get it right. You know, sometimes I've made errors or I've missed something important, and people are quick to tell me, you know, you screwed that up. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, we're only human, right? We can only do it as best we can. But I do like to fact check as much as I can before you know, I click on the make this video public button. So. Anything else? Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate being here, and we'll see you next year.